What have we learned from Aljazeera's Gold Mafia documentary? We've learned that millions of dollars in illicit funds are flowing into Zimbabwe. These funds are then used to purchase semi-pure gold bars from small-scale miners. The gold bars are then exported out of the country to destinations such as Dubai, where the gold is then refined and minted into gold bullion products. This documentary also revealed how the Hawala system is used in Zimbabwe to externalize millions, if not billions, of US dollars out of the country. Like many Zimbabweans, you're probably asking yourself, what is this Hawala system and how does it work? In the final episode of my podcast series, Gold Mafia Debunked, I am going to detail how the Hawala system works in Zimbabwe and the impact it has on ordinary Zimbabwean citizens. I am also going to provide insight into how many Zimbabweans unknowingly perpetuate the Hawala system and other forms of money laundering in Zimbabwe. First things first, what is the Hawala system? Hawala is an informal method of transferring money without any physical money moving. The system originates in India and it requires a minimum of 2 Hawala brokers to complete a transaction. Hawala brokers are spread throughout the world and they tend to be business owners who operate in cash-driven industries. The unique feature of the system is that no promissory notes are exchanged between Hawala brokers. The transaction is entirely based on trust. For many people, this system works as a legitimate way to transfer money. However, this system is open to abuse by money launderers. Let's take Zimbabwe for instance. The Gold Mafia documentary highlighted how Brother Paul purchases gold from small-scale miners using illicit cash and funds from Hawala brokers in Zimbabwe. Quick example. Brother Paul declares $1 million on arrival at Harare International Airport for the purpose of purchasing gold. However, he is only carrying $100,000 of physical cash. He then proceeds to bribe clearing agents who then sign a document confirming that he is indeed declaring $1 million in cash. That leaves Brother Paul with a deficit of $900,000, which he then makes up by sourcing funds from Hawala brokers in Zimbabwe. So the question is why? Why go through all of that effort? Well, the answer is quite simple. Zimbabwe has laws restricting the flows of foreign currency out of the country, and there are entities in Zimbabwe who use the Hawala system to subvert those laws. I'll give another example. Mr. Patel, who is not a real person, runs a chain of grocery stores in Zimbabwe. The situation in Zimbabwe is such that most transactions are completed in US dollars cash. So Mr. Patel finds himself with significant amounts of US dollars, and like many people in Zimbabwe, he is not willing to take his foreign currency to the bank. So what does Mr. Patel do? Tired of keeping his cash under the pillow, he decides to join an intricate network of Hawala brokers with the intention of externalizing foreign currency, which is illegal in Zimbabwe. Mr. Patel is just one of many individuals and entities working with the likes of Brother Paul. Millions upon millions of US dollars are externalized every day using the Hawala system in Zimbabwe. Cash collected from Hawala brokers is used to purchase gold from small-scale miners, which is then exported to Dubai for refinery. So in essence, foreign currency, which is meant to circulate the Zimbabwean economy, is nefariously externalized, further lamenting the foreign currency shortages in Zimbabwe. To find the culprits, all you have to do is follow the money. Like I said earlier, Hawala brokers tend to be business owners who handle large volumes of cash. In Zimbabwe, this could be retailers, fuel merchants, tobacco farmers, and the list is endless. The problem in Zimbabwe is that we are heavily reliant on the US dollar and we operate a cash-driven economy. Despite the fact that we have our own currency, we choose to transact in US dollars, which in turn has created fertile grounds for illicit activities. We, the people of Zimbabwe, are complicit in the continued money laundering and externalization of foreign currency in Zimbabwe. We have created an insatiable demand for US dollars in Zimbabwe and it's totally unsustainable. I'll give a few examples. Most Zimbabwean landlords charge rent for commercial and domestic properties in US dollars. Retailers and small businesses alike give huge discounts to consumers paying in US dollars. Our collective obsession as a country for US dollars has led us to this predicament, and we are complicit in the continued devaluation of the Zimbabwean dollar. Perhaps it's time for us to take a moment to practice some much needed self-reflection as a nation. We need to learn to start taking pride in being Zimbabwean, and part of that is taking pride in our own currency. The world has since moved away from the gold standard. The value of modern currency is now determined by aggregate supply and demand. In simpler terms, we as Zimbabweans have to create the demand for the Zimbabwean dollar in Zimbabwe. Indeed, the government has a big role to play in creating that demand. However, we as Zimbabwean citizens have to do our part to increase the demand for the Zimbabwean dollar. This means businesses widening the acceptance of Zimbabwean dollars as a form of payment, discontinuing US dollar discounts, landlords accepting Zimbabwean dollars rather than prioritizing US dollars. These are just a few examples of how we as a people can increase the demand for Zimbabwean dollars in Zimbabwe. The world media has done a great job convincing Zimbabweans that the Zimbabwean dollar is totally worthless. We as Zimbabweans have embraced this ideology, and indeed, the Zimbabwean dollar continues to lose value every day. As Dr. Mtuli so eloquently put it, we need to love our Zimbabwean dollar. Charity does indeed begin at home. We cannot expect the world to respect the Zimbabwean dollar if we cannot respect it ourselves. The gold mafia only exists because there are no restrictions on the use of US dollars in Zimbabwe. If you're going to talk about the gold mafia, you also need to talk about the fuel mafia, the retail mafia, the Malaicha mafia, the farming mafia, and the common denominator with all of those mafias is the US dollar. Let's remove this US dollar and focus on fixing the Zimbabwean dollar. Let's take pride in being Zimbabwean. This Zimbabwean dollar is ours. It's part of the independence that we fought for as a nation. So it's our responsibility to maintain it and not forfeit our independence to the whims of the US dollar.